Welcome to the North Hills Church podcast, where we take a deeper dive into unique content created just for you. My name is Ryan Ferguson. I'm one of the pastors at North Hills Church, and on this episode, we are jumping into a specific area of ministry here at North Hills to get a little more information, to take that deeper dive. And this episode is all about student ministry. So I'm very excited to have two guests with me today, one of whom is actually one of the podcast hosts, Tim.
Yeah. Man, it feels good to be on this side of the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you are a guest today, Tim
Yeah.
Wadsworth, for those of you who don't know him. Tim, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah. Going on almost 10 years on staff here at North Hills.
Hey, Tim, I'm
yes.
just going to help all of our listeners real fast. I think it'd be great if you would not put that pen onto the table.
Oh, okay.
Over and over. It's going to click about 1,000,000 times. There we
just
go.
threw it.
It's just a little technical thing we're handling here right at the beginning of the episode.
I'm not used to being a guest.
There you go. All right.
Yeah,
So you've been around for 10 years.
Yeah, almost 10 years. From Greenville, moved here when I was about 4 years old. Went to Liberty University, where my minor was youth ministry. It was not my major, but it was my minor. And I've been doing student ministry for like an actual job since college. This is all I've ever known.
Cool.
Yeah.
Family? Real
Yes.
fast.
My wife is Rachel. We met at Liberty University, and we have two kids. I have a 6-year-old named Judah and a 4-year-old named Levi, and they are a party.
Awesome.
Those two. Yeah.
Also joining us today is Joe LaPena. Hey, Joe.
What's up, Ryan?
Not much, man. That's a great greeting. Joe, give everybody kind of like the bird's eye view of who you are real fast.
Sure. Name's Joe LaPena, and been going to North Hills since 1993, the year of our Lord.
1993.
Old school.
Old school.
I was 7.
Shut up.
Originally from New York, moved down here to Greenville and back in 93, and actually started going to North Hills right at that time. And I am married to Nadine, and we have two awesome kids, Caitlin, who is a senior in college at Covenant College, and Matt, who is 19, and he works for me. I own a company called Drum Creative, and we do websites, graphics, all fun stuff like that.
So I've known Joe for almost all of those years that he's been around. So specifically, help people go from there to how are you engaged in student ministry? Even before we talk about it, just like what's your connection to it, so they hear you with a kind of an accurate understanding of your part.
No, that's a great question. For me, student ministry or youth group was the only connection that I had to Jesus Christ. I went to public school, and I didn't have a lot of Christian friends around me, and so I always looked forward to going to youth group on a Friday night, and we had a gym, and so it was just really cool to be able to hang out with some friends. And I was just looking for people in my life, yes, as a teenager, who would just point me to Jesus, where I could grow and make good moral decisions. You know, I felt like if I'm surrounding myself with good people, that will help me to grow and become a better person in my life.
So how does that transfer to North Hills? Like that's
Right.
that began there. What about now? How do you serve with student ministry?
So I think about that, and if it wasn't for student ministry, I don't know that I would be where I'm at today.
Just as a person.
Having somebody pour into my life. And so I kind of have looked at it like, what is my responsibility? Where can I connect? Where can I serve well here at North Hills? And I have always felt like youth ministry is something that I can do. And I feel like kids need to have somebody that can mentor them, that's not just mom and dad.
Yep.
But is somebody that loves Jesus. And I just think back when I was a kid, I looked up to those adults who loved Jesus and got to show me what it was like to follow him.
Great. So let's go from there real fast, Tim. If you met somebody on a Sunday, and they asked you the question, hey, what is Alive? Like we're talking about student ministry. You're going to hear us say student ministry and Alive back and forth.
Yes.
So give us like a real quick, you only have time to talk to somebody after a service. What is Alive? What are we talking about here?
Alive is our weekly gathering of 7th through 12th graders, where it's their first opportunity to get plugged into a life group. And so our goal at Alive, if someone were to say, what is Alive and how can I, come, where is it? I would just say it's our weekly gathering where our youth group gets together of middle school and high school students on Sunday night. And we would love to have you there. And our goal is to get you plugged into a life group because, prior to youth group, these kids have never been in a life group unless they've gone with their parents. So our main goal is to get them to have that first taste of community in that life group atmosphere.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
So you guys are here to help us understand more. I think, Joe, you even started into this idea. Why is it important? Like, in a way, in a fun way even, like make a case for it. Like,
oof.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I guess what I really love about working in student ministry is being able to see a life change, actually watching God grow a young person, because the teenage years are their most formidable years.
Yeah.
This is where they start becoming who they are going to be for the rest of their lives. And so they're going to be making so many big decisions. And I work with seniors in high school, and I kind of pick that grade because that's when they start moving from under mommy and daddy's roof to under their own roof. And what God's called me to do is to help guide them through that. So when it comes to student ministry, what's fun about it is that there's watching a kid grow and change and love Jesus, and then all of a sudden kind of guiding and mentoring them and watching them become leaders themselves is one of the most rewarding things I've ever experienced.
So the importance is like, it's not just the gathering itself. This is setting a trajectory to follow Jesus, to engage with other people who follow Jesus, and ultimately to move you into your own life with Jesus. Would you add anything, Tim? Like, why is this important?
I would say first, when I think why is it important, I think of my own life. I think from just my personal experience. Like, I don't know where I would be today if it wasn't for my youth group as a kid. The impact that my small group leaders had on me, how I looked up to my youth pastors, how they helped get me involved in my church was just huge. I remember walking up to my student pastor and I said, Brian, what do you do for a living? And he was like, Tim, I'm your youth pastor. I get paid to do this. And I was like, what? Like, first off, that's amazing. If drums never work out for me, that's what I'm going to be doing for a living. So I think there's the relational side that it's so important. Every kid wants to belong. Every kid wants to know where they fit in and where they can grow and be challenged and have a safe place to ask hard questions, and we don't get upset at them for that, to give them a place where they can verbally process Scripture, the hard things going on in their life. I mean, a lot can happen with a kid 7th grade all the way to senior year, and we're giving them adults who meet them when they're brand new in 7th grade and go all the way with them to senior year and grow in relationship.
Great. So I'm a parent.
Yep.
I actually have 3 teenagers who all go to Alive.
And we love them so much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sure. But help a listener who is hearing about this, who may want their teenager to be involved. Like, you've talked about the importance from the kid's perspective, like what happens to the kid at Alive. What about me? Like, does Alive think about mom and dad at home after they've dropped off their kid? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Are you tracking with me?
Go ahead.
I like to. So I had 2 kids. Like I said, one's 19 now and the other's 21. And when they went through Alive, it was so important to me that there was somebody else pouring into them. As a mom and dad, as mom and dads, we are always saying what they need to do, and we're correcting them, and they keep hearing our voice over and over again. And sometimes it's so funny. I can think of a time when I might have told my son or my daughter 100 times, like, do this or do this. And I would explain it to them 15 different ways. And then some leader, they come home one night and they go, you know what I heard tonight? Oh, yeah, right. The very thing I told you 500 times, but you got it now. So that's great.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful for that leader that actually said something, just reiterated really what I had been teaching or what I've been trying to pour into my kids over the years.
Great. So
Yeah,
there's
and we have lots of parents who take advantage of that. I can't tell you how many times I've seen parents come up to you or to me and say, hey, look, I need you to partner with me. I need you on my side. I need you to be telling this to my kid or help them with this, or here's some insight with my kid that you just don't know. And you don't see the blow-ups at home because when he comes to church, he's putting on his church face. But Tim, you got to know these things.
So there is a part of this whole Alive thing that is student-focused, but based on kind of what you guys said, there's also a part of Alive that's parent-focused.
Yeah, it's huge. The partnering with parents is massive. And one new thing we've implemented, I think it's about a year old or 2 years old, is something called family huddles. And so what we have done in the last several months have been to give parents a platform to accomplish 3 things. In our partnership with them, we want to do, the first thing is connect parents with each other. We think that's really important that parents are doing this teenage years of parenting together as iron sharpens iron kind of thinking. The second thing we want to do for them in family huddles is to encourage them with outside voices. And then the third thing that we want to do is inform them with what's going on in culture and also what's going on in our youth group. And so that's primarily the biggest way that we partner with parents is in that face-to-face family huddle time.
Yeah. And I would like to reiterate the fact that we're even doing something like that. If you're a parent and you're not taking advantage of something like that,
yeah,
I almost say shame on you, because this is something that we're all in this together. I can think back. I mean, Ryan, you and I have had talks in the past over the years. I have dear friends of mine that we're going through this life together, and I'm going, hey, here's a situation that came up. My kid is this age, we're talking under 12 or whatever, and they go to somebody's house and they're watching a rated R movie or a movie that I don't agree with. What do you do? Now what? And being able to pick somebody else's brain has been so very helpful to me over the years to know that. So
I'm going to go off script here for a moment.
Yeah.
We do have somewhat of an outline, but we're going to throw that out for a minute. So help me with this. Like how we've kind of rolled here so far is we've made a case for Alive or student ministry. And I think made a really great one, both from personal experience, both of you, and also from the idea of being a follower of Jesus, that this is another mode to try to help that. Mm-hmm. We partner with parents in doing that. What if just in that experience, the kid doesn't connect to Alive?
Yeah.
Like, and let's not, there's no, maybe necessarily not good, bad going on here. It's purely, the kid might just say to his parents, I don't really connect or something like that. Like,
yeah.
Do you have any
with
thoughts?
No show grow.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you speak to that, but
okay.
One of the things that I think is so important, and Tim touched on this earlier, Ryan, if a parent has ever come to me and said, hey, this is something my son is dealing with or my daughter is dealing with, when I hear those issues or things that they're struggling with, it allows me to be sensitive to the spirit of what's going on in that kid's life right now.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, and I tell my students this all the time, y'all are shiny, happy people right now. You've come into this building and you love Jesus as far as I'm concerned, and your life is good. So if you don't share anything, you don't open up with me and tell me what's going on in your world, I can't really help you because I'm not going to unpack it myself. I'm not going to sit here and pry too much. I mean, yeah, I'll pry if I see something like, man, something going on with you right now. It doesn't seem right. And I'll do that. But there are some times where we just can't see it because there's so many students and everything. Mm-hmm. So a parent jumping in and saying, hey, this is going on with my daughter or my son is huge.
So in other words, if that kid isn't connecting, you're looking at both the teenager and the kid saying, let us know.
Right.
Like, say that. Give me a call. Yeah. Text me.
I have tons of parents who come up and just say, hey, it is a fight and a battle every Sunday night to get my kid to come. Right. And I get it. It's a fight and a battle with my 6-year-old, and it's a fight and a battle with my 4-year-old. But here's the deal. You're still going. And a lot of parents come up and say, hey, should I force my kid to go? This is just me personally. I'm sure there's other youth pastors who disagree with this, but I'm really thankful my parents made me go to youth group. even if I didn't really connect that well when I was an 8th grader, or it was uncomfortable for me, or it was hard. Like, if I was going to live under their roof, I was going to youth group. And I'm glad they didn't give me that opportunity to say yes or no.
So I think this is actually a helpful moment. If I can kind of make an observation about your two stories for parents, you were energized on your own to go. You were not.
Only if I was playing drums.
Right.
Yep. I'm being honest.
Right, of course. But I don't know. There's something in this moment as we've talked, I think there's a gift in helping parents. We can talk about Alive and its benefits and what it does, but also giving parents some freedom to go. You might have a kid like Joe who just wants to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You might have a kid like Tim who may not connect. Again, there's no right, wrong, good, bad there. Yeah. And we want you to know that even in that, there's a willingness to partner. Let us know what's going on. We'll try to engage here. So,
and I would even say relational's big with that too. Like, if a kid's not connecting and there's something going on there, I would look at mom and dad and say, hey, it's fine for a month. They don't need to come, but I want to get coffee with them, or I want to hang out with them and grab ice cream because I want to get to know them. And I feel like if they get to know me and they get to know Joe and our other leaders and other kids, that sense of belonging and I feel like I'm liked here can really break down the barrier of wanting to go to youth group.
Great. So then they come, we've already kind of touched on this a little bit as you were explaining Alive, that as they come, we're trying to get them into what we call a life group, or a small group of teenagers with a life group leader, I'm assuming. Talk to us about that. Who are those people that are leaders? How are you guys influencing them as they influence teenagers?
Yeah. Joseph?
One last thing I want to touch on the relational part. If they're not connecting, I've actually talked to some parents and they said most of their friends go to another youth group. I say go to another youth group. Go to that youth group where their friends are, because if they feel more comfortable there, then do that. The other side of that too is, okay, maybe they don't have any other options. Well, what happens in life? I go get a job. Am I going to like everybody that I'm working with? I'm not. That's just not going to happen.
Yes.
It's true.
So
it's
like
very, very true.
I know here at North Hills, you all have some big issues. And
why'd you look at me when you said that?
We're going to unpack that in the next podcast. I'll be hosting our next podcast on
relational problems at North Hills Church.
At work.
Everyone hates me.
But we have that at work. We have that at school. So at youth group, you're still going to have some of that relational problem. Now, it's real important for us as leaders, for us to help create. What I love is we've used the term Alive as family, and when we have conversations with these students and we're talking about maybe what Tim taught, or we're going through a Bible study together, when we ask questions, we're asking questions to have the other students answer those questions. Why is this important? Because they get to actually hear their own peers talking about what they believe. Now, if we're way out of whack on something that's said, that's what we're kind of like the goalie. We're kind of putting the puck back into play, and we're saying, no. Let me help you with that. But we're allowing them to talk and share their hearts together, and that's where it becomes relational. Wow, I did not realize that he had a stutter problem, or I didn't realize that she had some physical abuse, or there's some other things, like she was suicidal, that people sharing stuff like this, and they were be able to relate a little bit and be able to hear how God had worked and changed their lives. And I think that's the biggest thing, is seeing how God is working in these lives and these people right here at church. And I can build a great relationship with them.
Yeah. That's really big. I was also thinking, too, there's also some coaching and mentoring with mom and dad. Normally, if they say the whole connecting thing is a struggle, or I generally, after spending time with the kid for more than 3 minutes, he's not very friendly. He's not very nice. So I go back to mom and dad and say, hey, I might have found the issue. And that might not always be the case, but depending on what it is, we're going to partner with mom and dad and help them specifically to what it is they're going through.
Yeah. So let's circle back and again, kind of come back to life group leaders.
Yep.
That you're investing in. And we've said that when a student comes, that's what we're moving them towards.
Yeah.
So let's let people know what that is. Like, how are we equipping life group leaders? Who are they?
Yeah, that's big. So we have 93 life group leaders, which is crazy. And they are committed to the 7th and 12th graders. But I can give you an example of what we're doing this Saturday. We're doing something called the National Day of Volunteer Youth Ministry Training. Longest title in the history of titles. National Day of Volunteer Youth Ministry Training. And what we're doing is we're not only bringing in our life group leaders into the fold, we have invited other student ministry leaders in the upstate of Greenville to come with us and get additional training that we're getting through a ministry called Download Youth Ministry, where it's going to be 3 hours of just talking student ministry. How can we better love them, specifically in life groups? So that's just one example of one thing we're doing this month. The second Sunday of every month, we have an all leaders meeting. We have people who serve in our student ministry who are just called life group coaches. So Anna Kruger, who's in our church, she's someone who serves as a life group coach. She is just on our student ministry team to coach life group leaders. She sits in the life groups, doesn't say anything, just watches, observes, and then coaches these adults, which is so cool. And so we have a meeting once a month.
She's an amazing resource.
I want her to coach me.
She is a coach.
Yeah, but she doesn't coach. She needs to coach me. I would take it, but probably can't afford her. Yeah. So, but we do several things like that to where we're trying to equip them to where when these kids walk through the door, they're looking at these people as their youth pastors, and they're not putting all their eggs in one basket with like me or Dawson. We're pushing them to these life group leaders who have the bandwidth to do life with them for 6 years in a really unique way. So training is actually something that I feel like we do all the time, right, Joe?
Yeah, you do. And like he said, every month we're having a meeting. At the beginning of the year, we have a required meeting that we go to, and he unpacks the vision for the year. And I'll say I kind of rate every year that we do it. And I've watched Tim over these years, in his 10 years of leading a live student ministry. I've watched him grow from this young guy to now, as he's matured and grown older and all that stuff and lost more hair like me.
No more mohawk.
Yeah, no more.
It's a comb over.
Yeah, now it's a comb over.
Sad.
As he's done that over the years, I've seen him grow, and you can tell the heartbeat of everything that he communicates is about how he can effectively make us better leaders. And even down to little details of how we need to protect ourselves in those moments, be careful with what we do and all of that, child protection, things like that are really, really important. But then it's about the whole no-show grow, which I think is extremely important. You know, you don't show up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, a couple of things here real fast. And then I think it'd be great to hear more about no, show, grow. That seems kind of like almost the philosophy behind how you operate.
Bingo.
I think I want to make one observation. It seems, if I heard you correctly, that if a parent is listening or a student, life group is a leader going with you from when you start till you finish.
Yes.
And I just think that's a really valuable observation on this relational level, that as you bring your child, they're walking with someone over an extended period of time. I love that type of, I'll use a term I like, apprenticeship.
Yeah.
You know, that, hey, we're walking with you. And then Joe mentioned something that I'm just going to throw in here because I'm pretty passionate about that. And all of these people that serve teenagers are all child safety approved. We have a very rigorous child safety policy here that we do not apologize for.
Nope.
It is aggressive on purpose. And so I think it's great that you all...
And can I add to that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
When we raised the bar like we did several years back, in the back of my mind, I thought, no one's going to do this. It's hard enough to recruit leaders as it is. We just made this. There's 7 more hurdles. Since we've done that, the cream of the crop has just, gone to the top. It's rose, and our leaders love it because they feel like we're equipping them. You're setting me up for success, and it's actually an easy sell, and I love it.
Yeah.
So
it's great.
All right. So final minutes here. Give us an idea. You guys have used this term actually more than once already today. So help us understand it. No, show, grow. What's going on there?
Joseph?
I don't know anything about no, show, grow. So
I neither know.
I feel like I'm a broken
I don't show anything, and I don't grow
that's
at
right.
all.
I don't know.
I feel like I'm a broken record player with this, so you should knock it out of the park.
Oh, man.
No pressure.
Yeah, all the pressure in the world. No, we need to know our students.
Good. Ding, ding, ding.
Okay. We need to show up and grow. We can help grow them by spreading and making disciples.
That's really good. Can I impact that a little bit more?
Yeah, what did I mess up?
Impact that or unpack that?
Here's the deal.
Impact it.
Unpack that. And I'm going to impact it. I'm going to do both. At the end of the day, we want to get to know every kid.
Yep.
And this is kind of just relational. Like, do you know their last name? Do you know if their parents...
Speaking to a life group leader. That's
Yes.
like, do you know? Yeah.
Yep. I go to a life group leader, and if I go, who is this kid? We should know that kid, not just know of them. I want to know them. Do they live under a bridge? Do they live in a mansion? Are their parents divorced? Are their parents still together? When we know someone, then we can show them the appropriate love that will make them feel valued. So I know my wife. Because I know Rachel, I know what to do and what not to do. I know how to show her I love her. If I call Rachel up on stage and embarrass her, I'm in big trouble.
That won't work well for you.
No, because I know her. So now I know how to show her, whatever the case may be. But I can know this person and say, man, if I bring them up stage and hit them in the face with a pie, they're going to love it. I know them really, really well. And show also does mean the ministry of presence. We're going to show up.
I try to unpack that a lot. Like with our leaders, when we meet on a monthly basis, if you don't show up, what we have 15 nights that we get to meet with the students. When we look at an entire year, there are 15 opportunities and we only get 1 hour with them.
Yeah, and what he means by that is we take the summer off from life groups, not from our programming, but from life groups. When you take off the 2 weeks in November and December and Easter and this and that, we really don't get that much time.
Right.
So if we only have 15 opportunities to meet with them, you miss 2-3 times. That's a lot. That's
it's a
lot
huge
of time.
percentage.
It's a huge percentage. So
ministry of presence is really, really big to show them they matter and then grow. We think that if we do know and show really well, when we say jump, they say how high.
Yep.
And a lot of times kids will look at us and rightfully so say, you don't know me. You're trying to speak into my life and you don't know me, bro. Which to me, that was a cop out, but I get it. I totally get it. So that's what we live by. How does Joe know that he is doing our philosophy of ministry? And when he shows up on Sunday, Tim, what do you need from me? Know, show, grow.
That's really helpful. Are the students familiar with that language?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they're familiar with that. And then I think it would be helpful in our last 2-3 minutes together to kind of also talk about our students also know when they come what's on the menu. So when we go to Chick-fil-A, I know what Chick-fil-A serves. Very simple menu. It's a chicken sandwich. If you want a burger, they don't do a burger. So we made our menu really clear to our students. What are we doing when they come? We're going to help them develop spiritual habits. And habits is actually an acronym. H is for hang time with God. A is accountability partner. B, Bible memorization. I, involvement in the church. T, tithing and generosity. And S, how to study scripture. And that's all we do with our kids. Now, could we put other things on the menu? We could. That's all we really have the bandwidth for, and we're going to do those 6 things really, really well. So our students know when leaders come, they're doing know, show, grow, and when you come, these 6 things, that's where we're spending all our time and energy.
That's the target.
That's it. That's the target.
That's success.
And if you want a burger, Chick-fil-A doesn't do a burger, and there's a lot of kids who come that want a burger, but at least they know.
That's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But they know we don't do burgers, but that is our menu, the spiritual habits.
Yep.
That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks so much just even as a parent, I can be both host, pastor, and parent in this moment and just say thanks. I actually am one of the, it's very similar to Joe, one of the biggest fans of, and my kids I think would even know this, I'm not always the one to give you the right answer or ask you the right question. I tell my kids that. And that's why I need people in Alive. They might ask them the right question or give them the right answer because of the way God's gifted them. And so I just wanted to honor you both and thank you for your investment in my kids and for hundreds of kids. You've been here 10 years. Joe, how long have you been serving in Alive? Is
Mercy.
it at least that long?
No.
Yeah, before
longer.
Alive, it's been 20 years.
Yeah. So
In youth.
He should really have my job.
So
I'm actually
anyway.
going to take his job.
he's taking.
And I'd be happy with that. I'm good with that.
Tim's out next time.
Bye, everyone.
This is the last word you're going to hear from Tim.
What a sad way to end this.
Is at the end of this podcast.
Hey, and can I just honor you real quick? it is a joy to be under the leadership and authority of our elders who set our student ministry up for success. I mean, you guys just gave us a big chunk of money just to make the upstairs look good with paint and graphics. And our kids recognize that they're under leadership that values them and that you're in their corner. So the elders set us up for success. So
they're the church.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you for joining us today on this podcast. It was great to be back with you. Great to hear about what God's doing in student ministry and Alive. Our next episode, we are going to hear about another ministry here called Mosaic that's run by Susan Toy. She invests in single moms. It is an amazing story how that began. It is an amazing story of what God is doing through it. So I hope you will tune in when we bring you that. Until then, thank you for listening.